Hello, how are you? Welcome to another edition of Happy Hour. I'm your host, Bob Peters, and we are streaming live on Facebook, coming to you in the safety of your own home from the Cool Fish Bar up here in Cornelius, North Carolina. Thanks again for stopping by. We have been doing this for coming up on 2 weeks now, and we have covered a bunch of really fun subjects. Yesterday, we had our good friend from Barrel and Fork, Mr. Jade Finn. He came in and demonstrated a couple of really amazing cocktails that he does over at the Barrel and Fork, and that was a lot of fun having a guest host, or a guest. So we are going to be doing some really amazing cocktails today here for you. We're going to be doing some sour cocktails. But sour cocktails don't mean like gross sour. It means very well balanced. We do add some sugar in there to bring everything together. However, this is like a class of cocktails, and you'll see what I mean. We have another common thread with the cocktails today, and that is Luxardo Maraschino liqueur. That is going to be in both of our cocktails today, but we'll get more to that here in a little while. First of all, a little housekeeping. Thank you to Cool Fish for doing such a cool, no pun intended, such a fun project here, and something different for you guys so that you can step up your at-home cocktail game a little bit. We wanted to keep things very easy and simple, so we've been doing a lot of classic cocktails and a lot of sort of mixing and matching. So a lot of these recipes can work well with other base spirits. And at any point, if you have any comments or questions for me or for Alex, who's behind the camera over here, if you have any questions, just type them into the comment section below, and we'll be happy to answer them as quickly as we can. If you happen to catch us after we go live, after we end and you're on replay mode, then we'll be happy to answer it and get back to you as soon as we can on that as well. Okay? But if you have any suggestions about what to do tomorrow or next week or any of the future happy hours, please feel free to jump right in. We are good at taking suggestions. Okay, please feel free to follow along or follow us on Instagram as well. Coolfish is CoolfishLKN. That's at CoolfishLKN. Coolfish Lake Norman, that's right. So if you got your social media covered, you have your cocktails covered, everything else is going to be okay, right? All right. Okay, well, let me just hop right in. I'm going to make two super delicious cocktails for you. These are both about 100-year-old cocktails, so Prohibition, why can't I talk?
Prohibition era?
Prohibition, pre-Prohibition era cocktails. How about that? Man, that's a good one. Okay, so the first one is something that you guys probably have heard about. Now, this is in the sour cocktail sort of family, and you'll see this basically, what we're going to make is basically a rum sour with a little bit of a twist. And if you're screaming out there, daiquiri, daiquiri, it's a daiquiri, then you're absolutely right. This is a daiquiri, but we're going to be doing a Hemingway daiquiri, which is one of my favorite things in the entire world. I really love this. The original daiquiri was simply rum and a little bit of lime and some sugar. And Ernest Hemingway, that's right, the writer, the brilliant writer, Old Man of the Sea, and many, many other classic tales, he wanted a little bit different. He was a very, very strong, very healthy drinker from what all the stories I've heard. And he would sit at the end of the bar in Cuba and just slam daiquiris. Well, after a little while, the bartender asked him, what do you want now? And he said, that's really great, but I want twice the rum and no sugar. So that's sort of the birth story. I know, what great, how cool is that? It's good, it's too sweet, but I need more booze, right? So that was the birth of basically the Hemingway daiquiri. So let's get started. I'll show you how it's done. Mine is just a touch different, but I think that you might enjoy my version. So we're going to put this in a coupe glass. If you prefer your daiquiri on the rocks, you're welcome to. If you want to put it in a blender and do all that, go ahead, but don't blame me, okay? All right, so let's get our shaker, and we're going to put a scoop of ice in here. And we are going to be using, you know, I love my local product. We're going to be using Kill Devil Hills Silver Rum. This is really amazing. This is Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina. This is an amazing rum distillery on the Outer Banks. These guys are really wonderful people, and they make amazing rum, okay? So 2 ounces of the silver rum. Put that right in your shaker. And then I am going to use some lime juice. I'm going to use a full ounce of lime juice. And I'm sure that you guys have heard me say this before, but when you're going to use fruit juice, you have to use fresh squeezed. Otherwise, it's just not going to be right. You know, the stuff that you buy in the store is fine, but this is going to really take your cocktail game to the next level. So just take a couple extra minutes and juice them before you start making your cocktails. If you want to juice as you go, of course you can do that too. All right, so here I have some fresh squeezed grapefruit, and I am going to use a ½ ounce of the fresh squeezed grapefruit. And then, last but not least, if I can find it, I'm going to use a little bit of simple syrup. Pardon me. Well, okay. So, actually, this is a pretty good. Yeah, this is a pretty good segue to the original recipe. I add a little bit of simple syrup, but the original recipe actually doesn't call for it, funny enough. I guess that's a sign, right? So we're going to use a ½ ounce of the maraschino liqueur. And this is going to be our common ingredient for the day other than citrus fruit. Okay, so Luxardo maraschino liqueur, you would think that it's going to be like the super candy, cherry, super sweet, crazy liqueur. It's not, okay? It has an incredible depth of flavor. This is a really amazing liqueur out of Italy that started in Croatia almost 200 years ago. This is really interesting, okay, and it's really, really different. It's probably not something that most people are going to enjoy sipping neat. However, when you add it to a cocktail, it's going to add a good amount of sweetness to it and a huge depth of flavor. It's got a tasting, it tastes like cherries, of course, but a light note of cherries, also like some rose water in there. And then I think that there's like a mild medicinal quality to it as well that actually is really beautiful, okay? And we're going to use this again later, okay? So don't put away your bottle. Okay, so now I have my Kill Devil Hills rum in there, 2 ounces. I have an ounce of my lime juice. I have a ½ ounce of grapefruit juice. And then I've got a ½ ounce of my Luxardo maraschino liqueur. And that's it. Now, if you try this and you think it needs just a little bit of simple syrup, I do, then you can add, start off with like a ½ ounce to a ½ ounce of the simple syrup. And just shake it up in your shaker with the rest of the cocktail, and then just pour it in there. That would be how you would find balance if this isn't sweet enough for you as is, okay? So let's give this a quick shake. All right, and then we're going to go to our technique called double straining. Of course, we talk about this every time we shake a cocktail. So anytime you have fruit or fruit juice or something that you muddle in your cocktail, I like to use a tea strainer or a cocoa strainer, whatever you want to call it. This will catch any of those extra little pieces of ice or any pulp from the fruit that you use or any of the herbs or any of that stuff. So what's going to end up in your glass is a really beautiful, very sophisticated, very silky textured cocktail that I think you will really love. And for a couple of bucks, there's no reason why you shouldn't add this to your home cocktail kit. Okay? All right, so we now poured everything in there. Let me give my tin a quick rinse. And my strainer. Excuse me. All right, now all we have to do is what? Garnish, right? Now, if you're really thirsty, you can go ahead and dive in. But I love a very simple garnish for the home. So Let me show you what I'm going to do. This is really simple, the simplest, and I think some of the most underutilized garnish right there. That's it, just a simple wheel. That's all there is to it. I just give it a good thick slice, and then put another little slice from the middle of the wheel out to the edge, and then hang that on the side of the glass very carefully, and that is it. That is your perfect Hemingway daiquiri. And I think that I see somebody who's ready to try it. Mr. Alex, are you ready? Wait, let me try this before I give it to you. I'll get my straw test here so we're nice and safe. All right. I mean, that is delicious. If it is not, it's not very sweet. This has a really great sour note to it, and is yummy. Tons of flavor in there. Like you can feel the booze in there, although it's not overpowering. The grapefruit's prevalent. The finish is definitely the maraschino liqueur. I like that. I think it's awesome. One of my favorites. Yeah, have at it. Get in there. That's right. Okay. Any questions or comments? You guys, again, feel free to type in any questions or comments down below. We are always taking suggestions for future happy hours. So if you guys have anything fun you want to do, or you want to explore, any questions, what have you, please feel free to jump in at any time, okay? All right. So that was one sour, okay, and you definitely can see where that lime and the grapefruit is going to fall into that category of sour. Now the maraschino liqueur in there helps balance everything out, and that's super boozy and something that Ernest Hemingway, the man, requested. Okay, so let's move on to another one of my all-time favorite cocktails, something else that's going to fit inside of that sour family. And this one is something that you don't see a whole lot, but you do see this sometimes in a really good classic cocktail bar. This is called an Aviation. Again, one of my favorite cocktails of all times. It's kind of a unicorn because it has some weird ingredients in it. It has the Luxardo maraschino liqueur in there, as well as creme de violette. Now that is a weird one. In fact, most North Carolina ABC stores right in this area, they don't have creme de violette. They don't keep it, so it's a special order. But you can find some recipes online for alcohol-free creme de violette, and that's what I did. I made some at home and brought a little bit in so that we could do an Aviation with you guys. Okay, so let's make it. This one is a small but mighty drink, so I'm going to grab a Nick and Nora style glass. We're going to go back into our shaker. This is another shaken cocktail. All right, so I've got my shaker in here. This time I'm going to use some Cardinal Gin, which is, again, another North Carolina product. I love these guys, and I love my local product. And we're going to go for a strong 2-ounce pour again. We've got our 2 ounces of Cardinal. Let's go straight back into our Luxardo. We're going to do a 1/4 ounce of our Luxardo maraschino liqueur. This time we have some lemon juice. We're going to use a 1/2 ounce of our fresh squeezed lemon juice. Remember, fresh, fresh, fresh. And then we are going to use a 1/4 ounce of our creme de violette syrup, okay? Now, if you're using the liqueur, it's somewhere in that same amount. Some people will say just a dash. Other people will say a 1/2 ounce. I sort of cut the difference, and I typically use about a 1/4 ounce. This one has a bit of a delicate balance, so you might have to play with it a little bit to find your perfect balance. But whatever that is, even if it's, I don't know, 3 ounces of creme de violette, then that's your go-to recipe, okay? Don't tell me how you want to drink your cocktail. I'll tell you how I drink mine, okay? All right. So this one is ready to go. We're going to give this another shake. Quick shake. I'm going to test this before we take it out of the shaker to make sure that our balance is just perfect. So I'm going to use a straw. Ooh, that is good. Okay, so here's a fun part. So to me right now, just tasting that there, the lemon is still a little aggressive. Okay, just a little bit. Not bad, but a little bit. So if you try it and you think that like there's still like the lemon is a little strong, instead of adding more gin or Luxardo or creme de violette, here's a trick you can do. Just shake it just a little bit longer, and that is going to add some more dilution, which is going to smooth all those flavors together just a little bit more. Okay, so we're going to shake it again, try it again, and that should do the trick. Okay. That's why when you go out to nice cocktail bars, you see the bartenders tasting and tasting and tasting with straws a lot of times. And so that is basically just to make sure that the balance on a delicate cocktail has hit a perfect place, and they're happy to serve it that way. Let's see where we are here. I think that's better. Okay. So we're going to double strain, of course, again, into our Nick and Norris style glass, and you'll see this beautiful color that is supposed to be reminiscent of the bright blue sky. So that is how it's got its name as an aviation. This was created, I believe, in 1916 by a guy named Hugo Insulin. Hugo Insulin, no relation. People are like, did he invent insulin too? No, he did not. It's spelled totally different. He was in New York in 1916 and invented this cocktail at the Wallach Hotel, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And that was right about the time, this was just a couple years after the Wright brothers had their first flight out in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. See where I'm going with this? All right. So aviation was sort of a new term. So thus, again, it's supposed to mimic the colors of the bright blue sky, and aviation bring you that sort of idea, okay? So you can garnish this with a couple of different things. I prefer to garnish with a cherry, a cocktail cherry, because I think that is one of the most beautiful things ever. If you don't have any cocktail cherries, that's okay. You don't have to garnish it, or you can take a lemon rind, right? Just like we've been doing with the vegetable peeler, and then that lemon is going to go in with the cocktail as well. No problem, super delicious, and the lemon shouldn't do anything too crazy to this. How pretty is that, right? This, again, is one of my favorite cocktails in the whole world. I could probably have this one drink for the rest of my life and be completely happy if somebody else was just sitting there making them over and over and over and over again. Alex, are you ready to try this one, buddy?
Oh, I think so. I don't know. The daiquiri is so good. I kind of want to finish it.
Well, you just got to hear. Just try a little bit of that. Just try a little bit of that aviation. I think it's pretty wonderful.
Have kind of this hazy quality that really suits the weather outside.
Right.
Right now.
The weather is not beautiful today. Not quite as beautiful as we like here in just north of Charlotte in North Carolina. It's kind of rainy and a little gray, kind of windy and a little chilly. But hopefully these couple of drinks can bring some sunshine to you, right?
That was fantastic.
Isn't that good?
It's not for everybody. It's definitely one for me.
Yeah.
If someone wants a sweet drink, that's not for them.
Right. So there's a note in there, the creme de violette. There's a floral note, violet, right? That's in there. And so if you're not a floral person, like if you don't appreciate the floral notes in some drinks or cocktails or whatever, this may not be yours. But I think that you definitely ought to try it as well. So just if you can go to the liquor store and ask them for creme de violette. It's a bottle that will last for 100 years in your liquor cabinet at home. But they go pretty quickly at my house because when I do have it, then all my friends ask me to make them for them. So that's about that. Do you guys have any questions or comments for me? Please feel free to type them in down below. How are we doing time-wise? Got it? Okay. Well, if you guys have any suggestions for us, again, please let us know. If not, please follow us on Instagram at CoolfishLKN. And we will be doing our happy hour cocktails from Monday through Wednesday at 5 o'clock. So you guys please tomorrow join us again, okay? Thanks very much. Y'all stay home, stay safe. Thank you.